Larry Drew II with the game-winning shot to lift the Summer Sixers over the Summer Warriors in the NBA Summer League. And we'll talk a little bit about the Summer League and the journey of one Larry Drew II. Not too many guys, PT, who could say they played at such prestigious places as UNC, UCLA, and play at both of them. You know, it's hard enough to play at one of them. He's played at both of them.
That's correct. He's had a long route, but hopefully a productive route, and a route that finds him in the NBA.
And he joins us now here on the Sports Bash. Fresh off the game winner last night, Larry Drew II. How are you?
Mike, what's going on?
Everything's good, man. So quite a journey for you, man. UNC, your father played in the NBA. You went from UNC to North Carolina to UCLA, Sioux Falls, Philadelphia. Tell us a little bit about the journey for Larry Drew II and you know, what you hope to accomplish here, because obviously you've really – it's hard to persevere in this sport.
Yeah, I mean, you know, growing up with, you know, my dad being who he is, you know, being around the game my entire life, my route actually has been a very humbling experience because, you know, I've seen a lot of great players. You know, just because your dad might be in the NBA or somebody who you know that's close to you doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get a spot. You got to work just as hard as the rest of the guys out there. So like you said, I've been around. I've been overseas. I was in France. I was in Lithuania. I've been in the D League. Played in Puerto Rico. Like I said, it's just been very humbling for me. So
yeah, as a guy who's a McDonald's All-American, you know, you've been at two major, you know, universities. So obviously, this is a game that you love and that you've traveled all around to do it. And tell us a little bit about where you are now with this Summer Sixers team, which is, you know, a team that's got a lot of talent on the NBA roster. What is your goals in being a part of the Summer League?
Well, as far as the Summer League goes, you look at the roster. Probably 3 or 4 years older than anybody else on the team. So that alone, you know, I want to bring leadership. You know, I kind of want to be the glue that holds everybody together. At the same time, you know, I'm being a point guard, being an extension of the coach out on the floor, and just, you know, leading these guys out here because it's a lot of their first times. And, you know, I've been there before. It's not easy. You know, so just trying to make it a little bit more comfortable on everybody.
We're spending a few minutes with Larry Drew II. How about that game winner the other night? Obviously a big moment for you, regardless of what level of play it comes in. That's the thing you do when you're like 7, 8 years old. You do a little countdown clock in your head. You hit the game winner. Now you got to do it on a much bigger stage. What was that like for you, and how important is that to get things like that, not just for the Sixers, but other teams too see that as well?
Well, you know, going into the timeout, right before the play happened, the coach kind of pulled me over to the side and he asked me, you know, what play I wanted to run, you know, pretty much, you know, how I wanted to free myself up. And that in itself let me know that, you know, he trusted me to make the right play. You know, even before I shot the ball, I had all the confidence in the world that, you know, we weren't going to go into overtime that game, that we were going to be going home. And, you know, I was able to make that happen. I just, you know, give all the credit to my teammates and my coach and stuff.
Larry, Mike mentioned some of the stops you had along the way, and I'm a guy that grew up in the Philadelphia area but ended up spending a decade in Nebraska, so I understand what it's like, the culture shock of maybe going from UCLA in Los Angeles to Sioux Falls, which, by the way, is on your resume the most. I've been to Sioux Falls. I know what the Sioux land is all about. I'm sure that was interesting to you. Interesting would probably be the fair word to use. But my question to you would be, do you think when you were in college that you knew how fine a line it is, or maybe you could vocalize for our listeners how fine a line it is and how hard it is? You know, some of these guys get in the NBA, boom, they're in the NBA, but there's such a wealth of talent that's just right on the surface trying to crack through, and sometimes that's even harder to get out of that level to break through, right?
Most definitely. You know, it's the 450 club. There's 450 players active in the NBA at any given time. Not to mention, you know, everybody can't be a part of that club. So if you're not somebody who gets drafted right away, you definitely are gonna have to fight and scrap your way just to get your foot in, you know, in the door. They say once you get your foot in the door, though, everything becomes a little bit easier after that. But you know, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of guys who all feel like, they're good enough to play at that level. Even in the D League, I said it a couple years ago. It's kind of like crabs in a bucket, but everybody's just trying to like crawl over each other, pull somebody else who might be ahead of them down just to get up. So, it's definitely an interesting dynamic, but at the same time, it's good competition. It's a great way for you to own your skills and, on and off the court, just better yourself. Like I said, it's all been a tremendously humbling experience.
Larry Drew II's with us. You played with the Sixers. This isn't your first rodeo with them. You got a chance to play in the league. Tell us what that experience was like and playing for Brett Brown and being on a team that, hasn't been very good and has so many young players that have kind of been going through this, process, if you will. What was that experience like getting that call up, a couple of years ago?
I mean, it was the experience of a lifetime for me. Being somebody who, like I say, I've grown up around the game my entire life. I didn't get drafted. Spent, two seasons in the D League. Wasn't, necessarily positive that I was actually going to get the chance to play in the NBA. So when it finally happened, it kind of just, reassured me that I was on the right track. In that, whatever, I pretty much said I was there for a reason. If I'm not scoring the basketball, I have to find other things to do on the court to help my team in the way. Pretty much, and that's something that a lot of guys have to realize too. Is like if you're in the D League or you're playing overseas somewhere, chances are you're not going to come into the NBA right away. Being the man, like scoring 20 points. You just have to find your niche and what you can do to help the team win a game. And that's all that was for me.
Larry, one of the things we heard over the weekend is J.J. Redick came out and said a big reason that he came to the Sixers was because of Brett Brown. So you've been around Coach Brown. Just how positive a guy is he, and what does that mean to you as a player?
Coach Brown is awesome. All the times I've got to talk to him, even on topics outside of basketball. He's definitely has a very open mindset, and he has a way of really reaching into his players and getting the most out of them. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to work with Coach Brown again.
Larry Drew II, just a couple more before we let you run here out in Vegas. The Sixers Summer League team spending some time with us on the day off, which you guys never have days off. They're always working. They're always shooting. Obviously, Markelle not going to play, but just give us your impressions of him and playing with him for these couple of days and being a part of the team with Markelle Fultz. It's not every day you get to play with the guy who was a number 1 overall pick. Give us your impressions of him.
Oh, he's a hard worker, man. He's definitely a hard worker. You could tell that he understands his role right now in where he's at in life. He's very mature, and court. It's he can get to where he wants to get to on the court. It doesn't really seem like he has much resistance when he's out there playing. I think, he's going to do big things in his league, barring he can stay healthy, just like anybody else. But, he's just a great kid. I'm very excited to look forward to his growth in his career.
All right. Give us a guy who's not the big-name guys that impresses you, that you think may translate well to the league.
Big name guys like
on this current roster that you're playing with right now. Some of the guys you've been practicing with and playing with these last couple of days. Someone that might surprise and make an impact in the league.
Oh man, well, I don't want to say anybody.
You don't want to slight anybody. I got you.
But at the same time, I mean, we got a lot of talent on this team. I've gotten really close to a bunch of these guys. Some of the players who I wasn't actually familiar with at the time that, when I first got here that, kind of, opened my eyes a little bit to their games. I would say probably Jonah for sure, Bolden. He's really good. He can stretch the floor. Brandon Austin has a ton of potential. My man Isaiah Miles, Isaiah Briscoe, he can get after it. It's a bunch of guys.
All right. Well, we know that your game is dishing the ball, 23 assists in a game. At one point was UCLA's assist man. I think that was passed by
some
Lonzo
guy.
Ball.
We don't need to talk about that
Last
other
year,
guy.
but a well-established career, and it's great to hear stories like yours of guys still working and teaching the other guys. That's another thing that gets lost sometimes, is that guys like you who travel around, that guys pick your brain and that you're willing to talk to those players. And it was nice to see a guy like you hit that shot last night. That was really cool. A great moment for Larry Drew II. We appreciate you spending some time with us, Larry.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.